Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with a hot take, follow-up hot take about Antifa and RICO. Wanted to break down the RICO statute a little more. Didn't want to do it all at once. So this is from the johntfloyd.com website, and you pretty much find just about on any lawyer's site that knows the law. The RICO statutes. Now, the deal is there are 35 specific offenses which are predicate to the more serious crime of being employed or associated with unlawful enterprise. Some of the acts constitute RICO crimes. The following. Now, we'll go through these and see which ones maybe apply to Antifa. The first one is bribery, which is the corrupt solicitation, acceptance, or transfer of value in exchange for official action, and usually involves corporate leadership or government officials. Now, this could be one for Antifa, and I'll tell you why. Because too many of the low level government officials have sympathies towards Antifa, and they've been letting them go in Portland. They bring them into court, they get arrested, they're not charged, or they're cut loose on no bail. And some of these people were arrested on fairly serious offenses. So they would have to have cut some sort of deal with these people where, the members of Antifa gave something of value. And that's going to be very tough to prove because I don't think they're bribing them with like money. I don't think they need to. These people are ideological zealots. So what they're really getting at is they're getting imaginary woke points for freeing these people. It's closer to something of religious faith rather than, corruption in the classical sense. I think this one will be impossible to prove, so I don't think they'll go down this path. Counterfeiting, probably not. I don't see the guys in Antifa trying to get involved in that. Mail wire or financial institution fraud. This is possible. This is very possible because some of the Antifa guys seem to be, well, not armed, but they seem to be able to get everywhere. They seem to have food and resources. Their resources, they don't need a lot. I'm not suggesting they're getting rich off of it or anything like that. But I think it is possible that some of these government officials, and they're certainly crossing state lines because these morons use the internet all day long, and they just keep videotaping themselves and everything. Put Little Joan down. All right, Little Joan, you go do what you do. Obstruction of justice. Yes, absolutely. They've definitely been doing that. What would you call de-arresting someone? These people have been charged with interfering with a peace officer. So that is certainly obstruction of justice. And I think it's very likely at some point, if the FBI keeps going, they will find some local officials that are brazen about it, they're bragging about it to someone, or they're getting emails and communiques somehow, and they're doing it. So I think that's definitely potentially one, a big one, if the FBI really drills down. Trafficking, whether it's humans, drugs, or illegal or counterfeit goods. This is possible too, especially when you see that riot ribs showed up in Kenosha, and these Antifa members have shown up in other locations driving cross country. Now the illegal items won't be humans. It will probably be weapons, or near weapons, like Molotov. Molotov cocktail is a weapon. It's not a very good weapon, but it's a weapon. And bats and stuff like that. Very few guns. Although I think as this drags on, you might see a few guns, and you have seen a few. But transporting them across state lines, that's bad. Especially if there's been communications and coordination between the various members of Antifa. Drugs, that's a possibility too, simply because these idiots, they'll be taking drugs too. There's no rules. There's no rules. Tampering with or retaliating against witnesses, victims, or informants. Haven't seen this yet. I think it's certainly possible. These people are very violent. They're intimidating. Um, so, I think, especially in Portland, this is very possible. Very possible indeed. But I think it's too early to be looking for this. I don't think this is going to happen until further downstream. RICO also covers a host of other unsavory business practices, extortion, bank fraud. Extortion, I think, definitely has happened. Um, these people were extorting businesses, not really for money, although kind of for money, because they were extorting some of the businesses in Portland for food, I believe. Bank fraud, unlikely. Tax evasion, probably not. Blackmail, definitely. I think that's definitely one. Um, I think that's one that could definitely be used because the cancel culture is a form of blackmail. It's just very overt and stupid, right? So they find some, uh, you know, tweet or whatever, and they say to you, you better listen to us or we're going to ruin your life. Then they do it anyway. That's probably, that one's going to be tough to prove too, but I think it's in the ballpark. I think it could be possible. Forgery, no, unlikely. Insider trading, no. Investment, Ponzi, pyramid schemes, very, very doubtful. That's not their MO. Even efforts to conceal the criminal nature of any of these activities may constitute criminal offenses under RICO. That's certainly a possibility. They definitely obfuscate quite a bit. Ultimately, RICO is a powerful and complex law that can be both very costly to prosecute and defend. All right. Let me get back. I'm nuts. Let's see. Crimes under RICO. What the heck was this? Okay, this is under Justia, another law website. Now there's also civil RICO. All right, and civil RICO threatens very long prison, or even though RICO threatens very long prison terms for racketeers, the law's real power is the civil component. Anyone can bring a civil suit if they've been injured by a RICO violation, and if they win, they receive triple the damage. I assume that means treble. I don't know why I don't say treble. Treble? In the 80s, civil lawyers attempted to fit many different claims inside of RICO, but in the 1990s, the federal court set up a number of hurdles for civil RICO claims. To succeed on a RICO claim, the plaintiff must show criminal activity, that the defendant committed one of the enumerated RICO crimes. I think that could be. Pattern of criminal activity, definitely. There's definitely a pattern. And within the statute of limitations. One of the crimes, and I think it was on this list, because they had a slightly different list. Racketeering, okay, it includes gambling. No. Murder, possible, yeah. I mean, there's been some deaths. Whether or not they could tie them into RICO, it's tough. Kidnapping, probably not. I haven't heard of any kind of kidnapping issues, but if you're detaining people forcibly, that could be considered a kidnapping. But the big one here is arson. Arson's on the list, right? So these guys have definitely been lighting stuff on fire. And so it's the coordinated effort of lighting stuff on fire, bringing the fuel, coordinating that over the internet, and doing it, with the protection of the government. You got conspiracy and you got RICO. Drug dealing, maybe. I mean, I certainly take a few drugs, right? And bribery, yeah. And bribery, I think bribery might be in there. I mean, this is look, Antifa is an organization. It is. Now, it's not a very good one, even just in terms of its organization, but it's there. So, I think this could definitely be a deal. And if you get the civil stuff involved, they just arrested these 8 kids who apparently are, the rich Antifa types, the rich college kids. That the post I think wrote about was the redheaded girl who's 20 and, her parents are mega rich. They got a $1.8 million apartment in the city and then another house in Connecticut. if they prove RICO, then they could be sued by every business that was damaged, and they did $100,000 worth of damage. And I think they could probably be sued anyway, right? I mean, I guess since she's 20, she's not considered a minor. But could they go after the parents? I wonder if they could. Maybe. I mean, if she's living with them, she's still a college student, and they could argue that I guess the parents are facilitating it in some way. I don't know how it quite works. I'm not a lawyer. So, even so, I mean, even if they just go after her, I mean, they put a lien on her wages for the rest of her life trying to pay back hundreds of thousands of dollars. It wouldn't just be $100,000. It would be at least $300,000. That's a lot to pay off when you're 20 and you don't have a job. Now, her rich parents might be able to get her a job, but still, it's a lot of money. I know someone who took, I think they took about 10 years to pay off $300,000. It's a big nut to crack. So this could be the real kicker here. If they get Antifa on RICO, and then these businesses and these people who had businesses destroyed or careers destroyed or lives destroyed, whatever, they destroyed a person's house or whatever. I mean, yeah, this could really put a crimp in, letting your kid run amok and do this kind of activity. Because now you'll be on the hook for it. Now, some of these Antifa guys, they're not 18. They're not 18 at all. You know how kids are. You're a teenager, you're 16, this is the cool thing to do. Yeah, you might be out there in the streets dressed as Black Bloc. How the heck are you going to tell the difference? So, there's definitely a pattern of criminal activity. There's definitely criminal activity. You cannot deny arson's not a criminal activity. And I'm not sure what the statute of limitations are on arson. And people have died. Look, murder never goes away. There are people who died in the Chaz, and they were killed. They didn't die of natural causes. They were killed. So that's going to be an issue here. Now, this is all downstream. I mean, I don't think it's going to start to happen anytime soon. But, within the next few months, I mean, certainly after Trump gets reelected and the Justice Department starts really turning on the screws, I think that this kind of stuff's finally going to happen like months down the road after things kind of settle and the justice system and the judicial system sort of finally catches up to all this. Because you got to understand, they've arrested hundreds of people. Hundreds of people have been arrested. Thousands of charges. I mean, I'm very much against what Portland did, keep letting people go. But even worse, they've got thousands of charges on the docket. I don't know if they're going to charge them all or just throw them away, but some of them they can't. They can't throw away murder. They got to get it in front of a judge. So, and now with the feds coming in, who knows what's going to happen. Although, with Portland, the woman who's running against Ted Wheeler is even more left than he is. So she might just declare herself queen of the communists, and they might have to take out the local government. And what I mean by taking out, I mean investigate the corruption in the local government there in order to actually make some headway. That's what I suspect. I suspect there's corruption within the government. There's more than ample evidence that there's people within the government helping Antifa and helping along these riots. I think the federal government has to go after these people because they are, in my view, facilitating criminal activity. RICO might be an avenue for that, or they might not even need RICO. Some of these people are so brazen and justified. They're arrogant and they brag and brag and brag. So it might just be a matter of like drawing them out a little bit online and getting them pissed off and getting them to confess. But who knows what's going to happen. But anyhow, that's my analysis. A little more on RICO. Suave.